Okay, so here we are on Bitcoin and we're on the daily time frame. And so you can see that the Bitcoin price is getting kind of sandwiched between this 0.5 resistance level here, and then also the MA and this major support right here at this 236 fib at 62.3. So the price is bouncing between this 0.5, the MA, and here. And so I feel like we're going to continue to be squished in between here until we really get a breakout above that critical 0.5 level. We mentioned yesterday how critical of a level this is because as long as we are under this 0.5 level, Bitcoin really hasn't confirmed any new trend. So it really isn't until we break above this that we can start to consider new highs above 73.8. And so we need to update our main wave 5 target that was at 95.6 with this new low here that it made. I'm going to zoom out to the weekly time frame. Okay, and so these were our two targets up here. The 618 is the typical target for this fifth wave, which I said was landing at 95.6. So we just have to update it with this last low here at 565. So I'm just going to go right into the coordinates and update that third coordinate. Okay, and so you can see that brings down our 618 extension just a little bit to 92.5. So when we break above the 0.5 and we start to track that new trend, this is going to be that final target up there. And we're going to be tracking a 5-wave structure up to this target up here at the 618. And we also put on that 0.5 at 85.6. And we will be tracking, like I said, the subwaves on the way up. Sometimes it does target that 0.5 extension. So we will know ahead of time before we get up here which one of these are the full target. Okay, so we're back on the daily time frame. And so I just want to show you the RSI here because the RSI is right under that 0.5 level on the RSI. So again, the same thing happens on the RSI where if it isn't above this 0.5 here, and you can see that it is forming some type of resistance at this halfway mark. So until it does break above this level here, that will be a clear signal that we're on this new trend or a new wave is going to form. So we're going to keep watching this closely because it does look like it's trying to come up and make a new high, but right now it is still at that resistance at the halfway level. So let's just have Casi zoom in here and give you a closer look at what we're expecting.
Okay, so here we are on the Bitcoin 1 hour. We haven't had much development since yesterday, but there are a few things I think that we can call out. For one, we are still sitting above that channel of resistance that we broke out over the weekend, and we are just sitting slightly above that. I do think that it's possible we come down to touch it again because this would be an ABC target, and I'll show you how to get that in a second. It's also the larger 382 retrace. So as long as we're above this channel here, and I'm talking about this channel marked in blue, this was our flip to support over the weekend. So as long as we're above this, I think that we can continue to expect new highs on Bitcoin with our next really large resistance at 68,000. So let me show you how to get a few of these major targets and show you how the subwaves kind of align to these larger degree support and resistances. So the first one I'm going to show you is the ABC. So I'm just going to get really zoomed in here and come up to our high at 65.5, down to our low at 62.7, and then right back up to where it almost touched that 118, and it could even come up a little bit and touch exactly. But right now I'm just going to put it to the high that it made, and that was at 64,400. So I'm just going to put that there, and you can see we have our 1 of 1 for an ABC landing really close to that larger trend line. So it's looking something like this. And then I wanted to show you though the extension for like a 618, just in case it needs like another high where that would land, and it does land right at resistance. So I'm going to get rid of this ABC because it is not necessarily clear that it's on an ABC. Yeah, as long as we're below the 65.5, then I would still be expecting another touchdown to this trend line. So 61,600, 62,000 area, those are larger supports that would still be bullish for Bitcoin. And then, so let's get the 618 extension. So again, the extension there. And then I'm going to start all the way down to the low that it made, which was at 56.5. So I'm going to start there and then up to the high. So at 65.5 now, and then down to this low that it did make. So the low that it made was at 62.7. And you can see that our 618 extension is landing really close to our larger resistance at 68,000. So I wanted to point that out. And then we do even have room to come down to our other supports and still be really aligned with that extension. So I wanted to show that. So I guess my main,
I was just going to say, so really what this is showing is that even if we come down to that 382 before taking off and making another new local high, or if we just take off now and make a new local high, we're still going to be hitting that major resistance there at that fib at 68,000.
Yeah.
So that's what everybody
this was
should
also
expect.
like the apex of that triangle that formed for like a B wave of this. So, or whatever it was. So yeah, so that's going to be heavy resistance in this area. I want to point that out. But then also, I think what we also can gather is that we may not necessarily come down to like textbook wave 2 targets, the 618, because of that channel flip there. So where we would normally expect like a deep 618 retrace at to 60,000, maybe we're only going to get those bullish retraces just hanging out on top of this.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to be looking for in the next few hours, is just potentially another support test as long as we're below this last high. But if we do start to break that high, we're just looking for heavy resistance at that 68,000 mark, or even 68.3, I think was that higher target. So yeah, I think that's all we really have to go off of on Bitcoin for right now.
Yeah. And now that we have broke back above that main 236 support at 62.3, I mean, I think it will be very bearish, or turn very bearish if we do break below that again. So I think it's going to try very hard to try to keep that as support now that we're back above it. So like you said, that's lining up right with that 382 retrace and almost with that 1-to-1 fib. So I don't, like you're saying, I don't necessarily think we're going to get a textbook retrace for 2. I think it's going to end up being cut short because of those major supports. So should we get over to Ethereum then?
Sure.
Okay, so here we are on Ethereum and we're on the daily time frame. And so really there isn't really much we can gather from the price action on Ethereum, because it needs to break out of these same levels that it's been in for a while now in order for us to determine which wave comes next. And you can see it's just bouncing around and not really forming any type of wave structure. I do want to mention that we had this main 382 support here at 3115, and it really needs to hold that level. Right now we're sitting at 3102, so we need to watch this very closely for today. So hopefully by the time this candle closes, which is in about 12 hours from now, hopefully we can get right back above this and still continue to hold this as support, because it's very important that we do. And also you can see that Ethereum dropped pretty bearishly yesterday, and it dropped below its MA. The RSI isn't really telling us much either. You can see it's just zigzagging along. Right now it's sitting at about neutral, or slightly bullish, but more neutral. So there's not really much we can gather by the charts on Ethereum. So let's see if Cassie, if she can zoom in to see if we can get any further indication of what's going on.
Okay. Okay, so here we are on the Ethereum 1 hour, and you can see that Ethereum had a really nice retrace and bounced off the 0.5 retrace. So it did come a little bit lower than expected, like Tara said, but overall it's still within the same price levels. So we can't really conclude if this is on a new trend or really what it's doing. But I did want to point out that as long as we're below 3,200 area, so that last high, this could still be forming an ABC to deeper targets. So I want to show what that would be. So I'm just going to get a little bit more zoomed in here. So our last high here down to our high here, and then
the low, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, the low. Okay, so then if we come down to here, these would be our textbook wave 2 targets. What is interesting to me is that Bitcoin necessarily doesn't look like it can reach its 618. So I'm not saying necessarily saying we will come down to here, but as long as we are below the last high, the 618 area should be expected. So right now that's landing pretty much at 3,000. So it's only $100 below this. So not too much lower, but from here we would start to expect our massive subwave 3 up. So
this pump that it bounced off of that 0.5 fib, maybe we can get the 0.5 retrace for B, because it does seem like it might be able to come up a little bit higher to bring up that 1 fib.
It's pretty much right at 0.5.
Okay, yeah, so it already hit the 0.5. So that is it, as long as we are under that level at 331.22 or so, looks like. So then this would be considered wave B. As long as we are under these levels, then that wave C is definitely valid.
Down to here.
Yep.
So like this.
Yep.
So then if we are in a new trend and we zoom in around like the 15-minute, we start to see bullish divergence around this level, that's when we would start to get excited and start to be preparing for a large wave 3 up. But if we start to come to these levels and we have a really sharp drop on our RSI, that's what we're looking for. So what we're looking for is a pivot indication around this level, or if we're continuing to make new strengths on the RSI, leading to even deeper corrections, because remember we were debating about this touch or not.
Yeah.
So if it does start to show a lot of bearish strength at these levels still, I think it could even still come down to that 0.5 again at 2,800. So what we really need to do if you're tracking Ethereum is get zoomed in as it starts to come down for C to 15 minutes.
Yeah, so Cassie's just mentioning that right there at that 5th wave, looks like on Bitstamp, it didn't hit the fib exactly. So it was still about $10 off from hitting that target. On some other exchanges, it did hit that target. So that's what she's just mentioning, that if we do continue to see bearish RSI at around this subwave C, then she believes that we could get that perfect touch before moving on. So, and also this subwave C can be broken down into 5 subwaves. So before we come down and finish off that wave C, we'll know ahead of time, hopefully before it finishes, and where it's going to be end up targeting. So
it could be within the next day though. It could be before
that's
next
what I was
update. But
So Cassie, so I was just gonna ask you that. So this subwave C might take about a day or 2. So we might not be able to update you in time before it finishes. So definitely keep that in mind as we finish off the rest of the day and continue the rest of the week on Ethereum. Yeah, let's get over to XRP. Okay, so here we are on XRP on the daily time frame, and really not much has changed on XRP as far as these daily candles go. You can see that this was our candle that formed yesterday, where we had that major pump up to around 57 cents, and then we came right back down to testing the bottom of the triangle. Right now, we're continuing to hold this bottom trend line as support, so that's a really good sign for XRP. And you can see that this daily candle really doesn't have much range to move in, because right now we're stuck right at that 618 and the bottom trend line. So this could literally just flatline until we get a breakout. So you can see we're getting really sandwiched between these 2 price levels here. So this is getting really constricted. And I do want to show that the RSI did come up and it made a new high with this pump up here. So right now it's not showing really any signs of bearishness. It is right at that halfway level on the RSI. So it is more bullish, but it is also very neutral. So there's not really much we can gather from this RSI at the moment. So let's just see.
So Tara, you mean it's above the MA, but it's still neutral? Because you said it's really bearish, but it's still neutral.
No, it's bullish, but more bullish, but neutral. Yeah, it's slightly bullish, but it's very neutral because it's really halfway. But it's above the MA. It's above the MA. But yeah, so there's really not much we can gather from this. I'm just trying to find anything that I can off of this RSI.
You should maybe draw a trend line on your RSI, like from the left.
I'll leave that for you. Yeah, so let's just have Cassie zoom in here and give you a closer look at what's going on.
Okay, guys, I'm zoomed in on the XRP 1 hour. Look at this really clear bullish trend XRP is holding on the RSI. I really want to point that out because as it's been coming down to test all these levels, it's just really held that RSI trend line. So make sure you have that. It's on the 1 hour. Another thing to point out is we are continuing to hold and build support inside the triangle. And this is what Tara and I have been saying for a long time that we want to see on XRP. We wanted to see it reclaim this triangle and really start to build support on the bottom here. And yesterday we did get a really bullish push, and then it did come back down and bounced again right off support. So this is looking really good for XRP. It looks like we could get a break at any moment. So right now that support is at that 236. It's right at 53 cents. I think that's just going to continue to be support until it's ready to get another test of resistance, which right now is at 58.4. Like we mentioned, and it's still the same pretty much from yesterday at this 58 cents. It's really critical to analyze what the price action does at that point. So are we resisting underneath this level, or are we breaking above this level and turning this to support? That would be really bullish. Are we breaking it really fast where we need to come down for a sharp correction in the future. So these are all things that we're going to be looking for as the price does reach up to there. But this is going to be our key level to flip for that major price action on XRP leading to new all-time highs. So I wanted to point that out. We're really close, and I think we're just going to continue to build support on the bottom here. So in green, the green bar you see here is the 6.5 and the large 618 retrace on XRP. So these are very, very key levels for XRP to reclaim. This is the golden pocket. So I just wanted to point that out, and also the apex of the triangle. So potentially staying down here as long as we build support, and then really getting a break is kind of what I see. But yeah, this is an exciting moment on XRP. I think any day now, we could really get a break out of here. So I'm excited to see what happens.